Okay, a little bit different video today. Today we have an unboxing and sort of assembly instructions for the Bowk VR Invert Marksman, specifically for the PlayStation VR2 controllers. Does apply to the other controllers for this stock as well, but more about that later. Anyways, the box. So you have a box which arrives, something like this. Inside will be this. There will be packing paper in there. But you'll have these sort of parts inside the box. So you have your two core components, which are these parts with the carbon. You have your controller mounts, and then a chocolate and a little bag. So let's jump into this little bag first. Inside the bag, you'll have some loose parts. Let's laying them out so you can see what they are. We have, starting from the side, we have it's a wall mount basically. So it's just a little accessory. You can snap your stock into it. You can mount to the wall using a screw, and yeah, if you want to display your stock, you can do so. So that's what that is. There's a spare stiffener, so that's these parts here. On an earlier design of these, it was quite a lot thinner in this area here, and we had some cracks coming through there on certain on some customers' stocks. And so we started chucking in spares, and I also beefed up the design a lot. Haven't had problems since the design is beefed up, but there's a spare. So yeah, there's this part here, which is a spare sling mount. If you want to run a 2-point sling, you could use this. Otherwise, yeah, just it's a spare. There's this, which is a spare tube clamp piece. So it's got an M5 nylock in it and a spare M5 bolt as well, so if you lost one of them. And what it is for clamping these sort of parts to a tube or anything where it's internal, this piece slides down inside, and then you've got something to screw into. So yeah, that's what that is. I'll jump to the Allen key. 3mm Bondus long Allen key, good quality Allen key for the small amount of assembly you'll need to do. And then finally these two loose parts, which are M3 by 25mm bolts and nuts. And what they are for is to create save points on your Marksman adjustable cheek weld. So you have this full range of adjustment. However, sometimes you want to quickly go between sort of midpoints and save it for your favorite type guns. What you can do, if you want to, you can put this screw through one of these holes, and it will mean it'll create a point at which it stops on that screw rather than stopping on the main bolt. So you can create saved offsets, basically. So yeah, those are all the small bits. Chocolate, save it for afterwards. Reward at the end. So now we're down to the actual stock parts themselves. I'll leave the control mounts. Let's make the core first. So the core, these two parts, the core is common. So here we've got the PlayStation VR2 controllers, controller mounts. You can also index controller mounts, Quest 2 controller mounts. They all mount to this same core. So you could have one core and then have multiple mounts, multiple controller types if you needed to. So you won't be able to get this on there because there's a screw in here. It's just to stop it being another loose part. So I'm going to use power tools because I can, and I'm going to remove that screw. With that screw removed, I'm going to insert this onto here. If it's tight, which it should be at the second sort of step, twist as you put it on. All of these stocks have been pre-assembled by me. I build them right up to a usable state, including checking if they fit onto the controllers. And yeah, so I do check it, so it should fit together. And then you just put that screw back in, and you've built the core. That is the full build for the core. You've now got yourself a core. Before we move on, I'll note a couple of things. One thing I do check is this alignment of the cheek weld through as I assemble it. And if it does come out of alignment, you want to unscrew these, like loosen those, and you can sort of twist the whole stock just to line it back up again. It shouldn't, but worth noting. We talked about the adjustable cheek weld. This thumb screw here is for adjusting the cheek weld side to side. So this connection is slotted. And you can adjust the cheek weld side to side if needed for different cheek weld cheek shapes. This last thing, this T section at the bottom is not symmetrical, so it's got one longer end, one shorter. If you wanted to adjust it, so this is so that you can get really low on your cheek weld, it's got the longer end at the bottom. If you find you need a little bit more top end, and you don't need that full down, what you can do is take this off, slide this out of this, and flip this 180 degrees, and then this thumb screw will then come through from the top. That's why there's a open slot on the top. It'll just give you a little bit more up and a little bit less down. Could be useful to have. So that's the core made. Let's now move on to the controller mounts. So it's worth noting these controller mounts, there's a left hand and a right hand. However, this gun stock is ambidextrous, so you can be running it as a right-handed player, and then your friend, or even clearing a corner during a round, you want to go left-handed, you can just straight switch to left-handed play. So if you have a friend round who's left-handed, or vice versa, you don't have to do any sort of stock reconfiguring. They can just pick up the controllers and just use it the other way around, which is quite nice and relatively unique. I'm sure there are other gun stocks out there which do that, but on the fly, left and right hand, but I'm not sure how common it is. So I'm going to now show you how to install these onto the controller itself. I've just unscrewed those, so to bring these parts apart. Then what you want to do is, starting from the center, slide it along, and it should just sort of snug up at a point. And then bring that piece you've just taken off back in from the inside. And you can see it sort of all clamps around the controller there. And then you just want to get these back on. Sorry for the loud noises here. Right, and that's it. That's your controller mount assembled. I'll quickly do the other side whilst I talk about slings, or the lack of slings. It's certainly a question that has come up. So my gun stocks do not come with slings. It's for a few reasons. One is to reduce shipping costs, because shipping costs is a major factor, and I want to reduce that wherever possible. And also the gun stocks are so light that people use things like shoelaces even, or lanyards from conferences, things like that. If you do want to get a proper sling, you can. I need to line this up better. This is awkward doing this like this there. So if you do want to get a proper sling, you can. If you want some suggestions, there are some through the Bowk VR Discord. Feel free to come join. Equally, if you don't want to join Discord, feel free to flick me an email. But yeah, that is the gun stock assembled. Pretty easy.